So today's Amud is Brochos Taf Chof Beis Amud Aleph, and we are, where are we? Good question. We are at the bottom of Chof Aleph Amud Beis, approximately 7 lines from the bottom. But before we start, I just want to say people reached out and want to know how you can sponsor, ask questions, queries, slug me up. It's all welcome. If you have good kashas, you can send an email to me, that's probably the easiest way, to chaim.kornbluth@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to try and answer anything I can. All sponsors are welcome. You can pay for an Amud, you can sponsor the share, you can sponsor the year. If you want us to mention a name free of charge, Lilui Nishmas, Refuah Shleima, you can send that in also. I'll be happy to assist if you can. Okay, so says the gemorah. Tanan says in the Mishnah, Zov Shura Kari. Zov sees a carry. So what are we talking about here? A Zov is someone that has some type of discharge, and it's not the usual thing. So what is it? L'chayra. And he's Tomei. So if he sees for 2 days, I think he's Tomei for 7 days. If he sees for 3 days straight, then he's Tomei for 8 days. He has to bring a carbon, sacrifice. He needs to go to the mikvah. So this Zav, right? It seems to be a machlaik is what it is, but some want to say that, Shalom, some want to say that a Zav is gonorrhea. Okay? There's some type of white discharge, thick liquid comes out, and it's a type of illness basically, or maybe it's not gonorrhea, it's something else. So they had a nose we don't have now. But either way, it seems to be a chayle. Based on the Rambam, sounds a lot like gonorrhea. So let's call the Zov. He's tummy for 8 days. Now what happens if on the second day that this guy's tummy, he becomes a Balkari? On the third day, he's a Balkari. So on the third, so he's Tomei anyway. He's Tomei for 8 days now. This guy's a Zav. He's got gonorrhea. He's Tomei now for 8 days. But on the third day, he also has a nocturnal discharge, and now he's Tomei because he's a Kari. So what's the din? Tanan, Zav Shura Kari. This Zav sees a Kari. That's the first case. V'nida shepolta shechva zara. Or a woman is a nida. We're on 21b, 5 lines from the bottom. So either Zav Shura Kari, so he's got a different tumah. He's tumah Zav, and then he gets now tumah's Kari. Or a nida. She's got dam nida. She's tumah now for 7 days, for 14 days, whatever it is. Shepolta shechva zara. But some semen comes out of her body from the man that she was with. So it comes out 2 days later or a day later. So now she's also Tomei from the Zera. She's also got Tumas Kari. Not just a man could be Tomei Tumas Kari, a woman is also Tomei Tumas Kari. It goes both ways. Someone that she's with her husband, and then afterwards she sees blood, and now she's Tomei Nida. Tzrichin Tvila. The first man, the Omer says they all need Tvila. Even though they're anyway Tomei. This one's Tomei because of Zav, and she's Tomei because of Nida. So she's not going to become Tahor, he's not become Tahor. Still, since they have a carry, they're going to be Taival for the carry. Even though they don't become Tahor, but you've got to be Taival. Rabbi Yehuda, Paiter. Rabbi Yehuda says, you don't have to be Taival for carry. Since they're anyway Tomei, Rashi says, Rabbi Yehuda Paiter, since they don't become pure from going to the mikvah, so they don't have to be taival for this. So now it says the Gemara, when does Rabbi Yehuda say Zav doesn't have to go to the mikvah? When does Rabbi Yehuda say sorry that you don't need to be taival? If he's a Zav shor carry, the mikar la batfilahu. Since before he saw the carry, he was a Zav. Since before he had his carry, he was already Tomei Tumazav. And so now the tefillah doesn't help you. He's part of a bal kari grader. If he's just a bal kari, he's not a zav. The implication is he does have to be toivel. So we're trying to prove from it. Rabbi Yehuda says the zav that a kari has to go to the mikvah. A kari doesn't have to be toivel. When does he not have to be toivel if you're Rabbi Yehuda? Only if he's also a zav. But if he's not a zav, if he's just a kari, he's got to be toivel. So that's going to be a problem because our Rabbi Yehuda we saw says he makes a bracha, whatever. What we're going to see, v'chitema. V'chitema. Who I didn't feel a bal kari grader? If you're going to tell me that even a bal kari grader by itself, without the zav, nami pater Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda also says that he's pater. So why are you talking about a case where he's also a zav? V'hai the komifik bezav. So why Rabbi Yehuda and the Chacham arguing in the zav? That's to tell me to emphasize the din of the Rabbanan. That's why they're talking about this case. The what? What's the emphasis on Rabbanan? The Rabbanan says that even when you're a zav and a keri, you still have to go to the mikvah. So according to this, the Rabbanan will say if you're a keri and you're a zav, you have to go to the mikvah. Doesn't matter, zav, keri, zav, both. You always have to go to the mikvah. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, you never have to go to the mikvah. So how are you going to understand the sefer of the Mishnah? It says a woman, she's mishameshes, she's with her husband, and then afterwards she sees blood, she has to go to the mikvah. She has to go to the mikvah in order for Torah, for tefillah. That's why she has to go to the mikvah, not to be with her husband. She has to wait now 7 days to be Torah's nida. But if she wants to learn Torah now, she's not mechuyev to. She wants to daven. She has to go to the mikvah. Leman ktani la. Who is the author of this? The second half of the Mishnah. That's what it seems to be saying here. In those days, when they went for kari, a woman went for kari, so she'd have to go if she wants to learn Torah. She wants to give a shir. So the man k'tanila, who says this? Ilay milarabbanan pshita. If this is the chachamim, it's pashat. Of course she has to go to the mikvah. Why is it pashat? Hashta ma'azav shora keri di mikar la batfilehu. This guy that was a zav and he's tamei, and that he can't be toivel because he's tamei. He's got to wait another 8 days. Mechayev rabbanon. The rabbanon says he has to go to mikvah for keri. When this woman who's with her husband, when she was with her husband, she could have gone to the mikvah afterwards, after the keri. Only when she sees blood that she becomes second time. So she could have gone to the mikvah if she would have gone before she saw blood, like kol shekain. All the more so she should have to go to the mikvah. In other words, if you have to go to the if the chacham u'mechayiv, Rabban chacham said you got to go to the mikvah, even when it never was matayah you. So this woman that was going to be matayah her, all the more so she should have to go to the mikvah. She doesn't get a free pass just because she waited till she saw blood. The blood's not going to part her from going to the mikvah. Elalav. So this the sefer of the Mishnah, the second part is not Rabbanon. It's not Chachamim. Who is it? It's Rabbi Yehuda. Elalav, Rabbi Yehuda. This has got to be Rabbi Yehuda. V'davka k'tanila. And it's specific. That what? We're on Chav base Amud Aleph now, top of the page. The what? Mishameshes v'ras. The what? Meaning, Eina tzricha tefillah. She doesn't need tefillah. So this is the chiddush of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is telling me, Mishameshes v'ras nida. She's with her husband and she's dumb. She doesn't need tefillah. Tefillah. Ava balkeri greda mechayev. But we see from here that balkeri by himself is chayev. In other words, take a look in Rashi, top Rashi. Rashi says, Mishameshes v'ras nida. The tumas keri kodma. This woman's with her husband, so the keri came before the nida. Ukashirasa keri Ruya Haisa Litval Miyat. She could have gone to the mikveh immediately. As soon as she was left the husband, she could go straight to the mikveh. So Rabbi Yehuda says she doesn't need to go to the mikveh. That's the chiddush. But you see from here though, that Balkari by itself, just a regular Balkari, he would have to go to the mikveh. Otherwise, Rashi says, what's the chiddush if this woman doesn't have to go to the mikveh? If a regular Balkari doesn't go to the mikveh, so of course this woman doesn't go to the mikveh. A regular Balkari doesn't go to the mikveh. No one goes to the mikveh according to Rabbi Yehuda, right? Neither yeah, but according to Rabbi Yehuda, if a Balkari doesn't go to the mikveh, so there's no chiddush that this woman doesn't go to the mikveh. Alama, you see from here that a Keri usually does go to the mikveh. So here she doesn't have to go to the mikveh. Once she's nida, there's no point in going to the mikveh anymore. You blew it. It's not going to be matayah, so don't go to the mikveh. So now how are you going to understand Rabbi Yehuda? We're left with a kasha. So it seems to be that Rabbi Yehuda says a Balkari has to go to the mikveh, right? So if a Balkari has to go to the mikveh to learn Torah and to pray, so why did our Mishnah say Rabbi Yehuda Omer? That's the last line of our Mishnah on Chof Amud Beis. Rabbi Yehuda says, he says you mahara in Kriya Shema. Rabbi Yehuda says you make a bracha before and after. How do you make a bracha? We just established Rabbi Yehuda says you need to be taival for carry. This guy's a carry. Why should you make a bracha? So the gemorah answers, the Mishnah doesn't mean he has to make a bracha bal peh. He has to be mahara b'bracha. Just like this guy's mahara b'kriya shema. Now the Mishnah says, Balkari mahara b'libay. Means the Balkari should think about kriya shema in his heart. Rabbi Yehuda said, Mevarach lefnei v'achrayim. Rabbi Yehuda says, he makes a bracha, meaning also a bracha in his hearer. So this makes a lot of sense now. The only problem is why would this Balkari make a bracha in his hearer? Why does he have to think about a bracha? Does Rabbi Yehuda hold hero kedibur? That's the question. It would imply that Rabbi Yehuda says hero kedibur. He can't make a bracha because he's got tumas carry. So he wants to now eat something. He wants to eat a sandwich. So what should you do? Make a bracha in your head, in your brain, in your mind. Don't say the words because he's got to go to the mikvah. He's got to be taival. Does anyone problem with that? The Mishnah also says that Rabbi Yehuda holds that if you're saying Kriya Shema and you weren't careful with the letters, you swallowed up letters, what's the din? Lo yatsa. So says the Rashba, if lo yatsa, that means, why isn't he yatsa? Because of hero. If he holds hero kedibur, so you swallowed up the words, right? You missed words. You didn't hear what you were saying. You should still be yatsa because of hero kedibur. You still thought about it. You got your hero kedibur. Why are you not yatsa? So why would this guy be mahara bracha? If hero is lav kedibur lefi, so it's obvious that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold hero kedibur. Rabbi Yehuda can't hold hero kedibur. In that case, why would Rabbi Yehuda be saying make a bracha behero? Why should you make a bracha if hero is not dibur? If thought is not speech, so why should you think about a bracha? It doesn't help. We've established for the Rashba that Rabbi Yehuda holds that thought does not equal speech when it comes to these things. So why should you think about a bracha? So there's a good kasha. What's going on here? The Gemara slipped it under the radar. So there's two ways to understand this. Go ahead. What? You have a pshat? Two ways to understand it. Either pshat is that only in Kriya Shema do you need dibur. Kriya Shema says v'dibarta bam. This is a Shagas Arish pshat. Kriya Shema says v'dibarta bam. You need dibur mamish. You have to say the words. So for that, here is lav kedibur, so lefi Rabbi Yehuda. But bracha doesn't need dibur midaraisa. So therefore, you can just be mahara. That's one pshat. The other pshat that Slach says is that just like with Kriya Shema, why are you mahara? One of the sheets is why are you mahara Kriya Shema? You shouldn't be yeshiv a bottle. Everyone's saying Kriya Shema, you're singing that bottle, you're singing that, thinking about nonsense. Everyone else is busy being kabbalah ol mach shemaim. So also this guy, so you shouldn't be yeshiv bottle. He should be mahara the Brochos Kriya Shema. Question is what we're talking about. He should at least be mahara the Brochos Kriya Shema, just like everyone else is mahara Kriya Shema. just so he shouldn't be like wasting his time, he should be mahara, Brochos Kriya Shema. Think about it. Just don't be, but not pshara the hero kedibur and nefa yayitza. I guess the question is can you, if he does go to the mikvah afterwards, can he then go ahead and say the bracha bal peh? Was he yetzer with his hero? Okay, we're going to go further. Says the gemorah, Umi isli Rabbi Yehuda hero. Does Rabbi Yehuda really hold that you could be mahara? Vatanya, Balkari, it says in the Brisa, Balkari she'ein le mayim litfal. This guy's a Balkari, he ain't got water, there's no mikvah available, there's no pool. You know what you should do? Say Kriya Shema, skip the brachas. And eat your bread, and say a bracha. You eat the bread, you make a bracha afterwards, you do a brachas hamazon, doraisa. You don't have to make a bracha beforehand. Aval mahara belibai. You should think about the bracha in your heart. You should think about a bracha. Don't say the words with your lips. Divrei Rebbe Meir. So, according to Rebbe Meir, you do make a bracha of a maitzi, of brachas hamazon, but the bracha of a maitzi before you eat, you should say behiro. Rabbi Yehuda, what's shittas Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda, benkach, maitzi b'svasav. Before, afterwards, you should make all the brachas, you should say the words clearly. Say the words. So, l'chayr, the question is if he holds hero kedibur, why does it say you should say the words? Do a hero. It seems to be that's what they're arguing. Rav Meir says, be mahara the first bracha, the derabanan bracha, and he holds, no. He holds, say it. Omer of Nachman by Yitzchak. Also, Rabbi Yehuda hilchas derech eretz. Rabbi Yehuda made these brachas like hilchas derech eretz. Rashi says we're talking about brachas hamazon, bracha on food. In other words, Rabbi Yehuda has a sheet about derech eretz that you can learn hilchas derech eretz. So you can't learn Torah, right? When you tell me you shouldn't learn Torah, but you can learn. You know what you can learn? Hilchas derech eretz. So Rabbi Yehuda made these brachas of brachas hamazon almighty like derech eretz. Just like what's derech eretz, you can tell someone, you're supposed to eat nicely, eat properly, midas, I don't know, that type of thing. That you're allowed to say when you're Tomei. The Tanya, how do I know this? The Tanya, it says in the Brisa, it says you should teach your children and your grandchildren the day you stood in front of Hashem and Har Sinai. Just like you stood in Har Sinai, be'ema, be'yira, be'reses of Isaiah. Afkan, be'ema, be'yira, be'reses of Isaiah. So when you teach your children, it should be be'ema, be'yira, be'reses of Isaiah. And the Shulchan Aruch says that's how you should say Krishma also. So just a quick side note, what does it mean, Ema, Yira, Reses of Isaiah? What's Ema and what's Yira? So Ema is awe from the person you're in front of. Wow, this person's so amazing, I don't know what the word is. Yira aromas. You're fear because you're standing in front of greatness. Yira is fear for what you, is a closer fear, it's fear for what you are. Fear for yourself. Not awe, it's fear. Reses is kind of like shaking, I guess. V'zeya is sweating. So the Mufashim between Reses when you're shaking because of busha, you should be embarrassed from Hashem. And Zeya sweating out of excitement. That's what they say. That's what the Mufashim was saying. V'zeya means why are you sweating? When you're excited, you're busy, you're working hard. When you work hard, you sweat. So you should be saying Krishma with all these kavanas with Emer Yir Res V'zeya. Nekana Amru, from here we see, from this drasha, Ta'azovim v'motzorayim u'boyman al nidais metayin likas b'tayra v'lim v'chsuvim lishnatz b'mishim gemorah b'achas v'agadas. From here we see that someone that's a zov or a mitzayra, not someone that's a carry, someone that's a zov, he's got gonorrhea, or mitzayra, he's got what's that stuff called? Mitzayra, leprosy. It's not exactly leprosy, but that type of thing. So someone that, It's a spiritual type of leprosy. Someone that sleeps with a nida, a woman that's had a period, right? And she hasn't been tar. He's allowed to read Torah, Navi, Ksuvim, Mishnah, Gemorah, Halachos, V'Agados. Now Rashi says, what are we talking about? This guy slept with his woman who was impure. So he should be Tumas Keri. How's he allowed to learn? He's Tumas Keri, right? So Rashi says, what happened? Rashi says, Avabal Keri Einoi. Sorry, where's Rashi? Rashi says, you know why he's not he's not Tumas Keri? He went to the mikvah. He went to the mikvah from the Keri, so he's no longer Keri, but he's still got Tumas Nida, I guess, for 7 days for that to pass. So he's now Tahar. Rashi says he's told me for 7 days because of the Nida, but for the Keri, he went to the mikvah. Okay, the from guy from character. So other Rishonim explain that what does it mean? He slept with his Nida, but he didn't have a discharge, so he's not Keri. He started the action, he didn't finish the action. Therefore, he started the Maisa, so he's Tumas Nida. But he didn't have a discharge, so therefore there's no Keri. That's how the Ravid understands. Okay, so it says the gemorah. I'm not sure why he's chalik on Rashi, that he couldn't have gone to the mikvah. So it says the gemorah. The diak is the Baal Keri can't, he's also to learn Torah. So he can't let her. Rabbi Yossi argues. He's allowed to learn something he's rogel with. Stuff he's used to learning, he can learn. Rashi says why? Because he says it quickly. Stuff you rogel with, I don't know, you say every day, certain tehillim, whatever it is, that you can learn, you say it quickly. The Mepharshim want to know, like, who cares if you say it quickly? Why? I did it to Makabal Tumah. Either you can learn Torah when you told me, you can't. So what they explain is, if it's something new, you need a certain level of tahira to understand what the Torah is saying. So if it's the first time you're learning it, you need tahira to really understand, to get the depth. But if it's something you've read 100 times, you learned 100 times, you don't need this tahira now to understand it. You've already understood it. So now you can learn it without the tahira. Okay, it's pshat. Achronim say uvad. So you can learn something wrong with uvad shelo yatzia mishnah. As long as you don't come ahead and try and explain. Do a deep dive into the Mishnah. You're allowed to do a deep dive into the Mishnah, but don't do a deep dive into the Gemorah. You're allowed to do a deep dive into the Gemorah also. When you read the Gemorah, you can't say, when the Gemorah mentions the shame of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and this guy's Tumas Keri, don't say the shame Hashem. Interestingly, the Yavitz learns from here that normally when you read the Gemorah, you do say shame Hashem. You don't say Hashem, you say Yud Kei Vav Kei. You enunciate the letters. This guy is not allowed to do it because he's Tumah. He's got Tumas Keri. Rabbi Yochanan, a sandler, Talmidish Rabbi Akiva, Mishum Rabbi Akiva, Eimer. Rabbi Yochanan, the shoemaker, said in the name of Rabbi Akiva, Lo yikanis lemedrash kolika. This guy is Tumas Keri. Don't learn Bechlal. You shouldn't learn anything. Not Medrash, not a God, don't learn anything. And some explain what he meant was Loikan is the base of Medrash Kolika. He shouldn't walk into the base of Medrash Bechal. Forget about learning. Don't even go into the base of Medrash. Stay out of shul. Right? Why should he not go into shul Bechal? It's a machlekes. Is it because of Gzeira he might learn something? Or is it because Shemer Kainu, when he hears he's Tumas Keri, he shouldn't hear either. Just like in Har Sinai they didn't talk, but they weren't allowed to be Tomei. This guy, he shouldn't walk into the base of Medrash and hear Torah. You're Tomei. Tumas Keri. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Sheinu B'Hilchos Derech Eretz. This is what Rabbi Yehuda mentioned before. Rabbi Yehuda says, you know what Torah you can learn? Hilchos Derech Eretz. Rashi says what Derech Eretz is, certain things, how you should act. Again, how a Talmud Chacham should act. Hilchos Derech Eretz. Okay. The ways of the world. Ma'aseh Rabbi Yehuda Shara Keri. Story happened with Rabbi Yehuda. He saw a Keri. I guess everyone knew about it. Vayamalech al Gabei Nar. He was walking by the river bank. He said, Rebbe, teach us Derech Eretz. You're allowed to teach Derech Eretz now. Normally you don't teach Derech Eretz, I guess, right? Now's your time. You're Tomei. Teach us in Derech Eretz. So what happened? Yara, the Tava, the Shalem. He went to the mikveh, he was Taifel, and then he taught them. And this is a massive chiddush. They said to him, didn't you teach us? You're allowed to teach Derech Eretz. Why did you go down to the mikveh? Why don't you just teach us the Derech Eretz? Well, I thought you could teach Derech Eretz. You're such a brisk guy, you're such a machmo all of a sudden. Even though I make of everyone else, for myself, I'm machmer. I have chumras. I've got standards. I've got different standards. So he himself was makbid not to even teach the hilchos derech eretz, but for everyone else it's okay. The question is in the sugya, why is it that this guy is a carry? Why does he have to go to the mikvah? Why do you have to go to the mikvah if you're a carry? Seems to be a machlokes. He doesn't have to go to the mikvah if he's nida, if he's zav, if he's all the other tumas. So why do tumas carry the guys to go to the mikvah?
What do you mean the nida has to go?
She has to go to be with her husband, but she doesn't have to go to Lantayra. She now wants to Lantayra. She can Lantayra. She doesn't have to go. She doesn't have to go to the mikvah to Lantayra. So some say, like you're saying, similar that what? Since everyone else has to wait 7 days, it ain't going to help. So they didn't say don't learn Torah for a week. Learn Torah. Rashi says the reason why is because carry comes from kalas reish. Anytime a person has a carry, has to come from some type of lightheadedness, easygoingness. And when you learn Torah, you have to be serious, you have to be focused. And therefore, to change your frame of mind, you have to go to the mikvah. To change your, the physical body, changes your emotional sense. Go to the mikvah. Because this guy had to have a certain lightheadedness to become carried. The Rambam says,
It's not talking about the horror in that sense.
huh?
It's not talking about the horror in that sense. It's mindset.
Yeah. Well, l'chaira, it's connected. There's some type of connection between tahira and your mindset. The Rambam says, maybe this is the most famous sheet, the Shulchan Aruch brings it down. The reason why is, and we'll see later on the Gemara mentions this, not in this context, the reason why they were geizer for carry is that Shalehu Talmidei Chachamim Neshim Etzan Neshushem Ketanu Goyim. They didn't want people to be with their wives like chickens, all day and night, be with their wives. So they said, if you want to be with your wife, you've got to go to the mikvah afterwards. So it became like this massive tircha. What a headache. They didn't have high quality towels in those days, I guess. They didn't have hot water in those days, they didn't have geschmack showers. It was a major pain in the neck. So they said the whole point was so the people shouldn't be with their wives all day, like chickens. The question is, if that's true, so I don't understand what Hasidim are apparently there's a minute some people go every day. That kind of ruins the whole point of the takana. The whole point of the takana is you shouldn't be with your wife all the time to reduce it. So what's the point? Now you're going any day anyway, so you didn't do anything. If you Rashi, it makes sense. It's about Tyrus Adas, but that's not mentioned.
It's referring to you go in the morning for when you have nighttime.
Hasidim go all the time. They go every day.
They go every day.
Right?
They go in the morning when they wake up.
Yeah. So how does it help? The point was that you shouldn't be with your wife at night every night like a chicken.
No, it's not that. It's not that. They go even when the wife's nida.
Right. Right. But what's the point? The whole point of the takana was
because if you have secretions when you're sleeping.
That's not the takana Chazal. Chazal were misakin it in order the person shouldn't. This is what the Rambam holds, and that's the pashtus. The takana is they shouldn't be with their wives like chickens. Okay, we'll wrap it up over here. Thank you very much. We started very late today, by the way.